Lance Mechanics here today, and this is going to be for the apprentices. I want to explain to you how to train yourself for flat rate, and this is what I did. I personally did in the industry, and I blew the competition out of the water. And the reason I'm doing this video today is because I went to my old garage, the very first private garage I started at, and when I left, I had done things in ways that I thought I had left the shop in good order when I left, and some of the employees were still there. They may watch this video, and it seems like they were almost defeated. And it got me thinking how I improved myself, and I may have made the boss a lot of money in the end, but I set myself up for a good future when I went to the dealership. Even though I don't love the dealership, I still set myself up. And I'm going to explain that in this video. So, what did I do? What I did is I went against the grain. Shops are very cliquey, dealerships are very cliquey. Sometimes you got to just put yourself out of there and do a lot of extracurricular activities. So there's nothing wrong with going home at night and spending an hour or two looking into manufacturer procedures or recommended maintenance. And what I did is anytime a car came in, I road tested it. I knew in that 2-3 minute road test, I can get to the highway. I was near a highway. I could diagnose a lot of stuff, even though the customer wasn't there for it. People are in this weird notion that just because the customer came in for an oil change doesn't mean they want their car looked at. Listen, if I got to fill out these darn sheets, I'm looking at that car. At the time I was hourly. Who was it hurting? So, road test. Boom, I'm checking for alignment. I'm listening for noises. Steering wheel's off. Great. Now I know I can upsell an alignment if the front end's good. Now, most vehicles, most shops, you're going to have a 2-post hoist. You're going to put that damn vehicle on a 2-post hoist. Damn right you're checking the damn front end, you're checking the suspension, you're looking for leaks, you're doing everything you can. Now, what else I did is I looked at the manufacturer recommended maintenance. So in the aftermarket garage, you're going to have a lot of older vehicles, higher mileage. It's a lot easier to sell fluids and services than it is at the dealership. And my rule of thumb is if it was at our garage and it was a repeat customer and it had no history, you're damn right I'm going to do the basic stuff. And that goes brake service, tranny service, diff service, brake fluid service, coolant service, all fluids, easy stuff to sell. And I did that a lot, and it was very easy for me. Service visors didn't ask for it. We were using systems like Stock Track or PBS, whatever, Reynolds. I would go in, I'd put the estimates in, I'd make sure there was parts at Napa. 15 minutes of my time. I got very, very quick at this. And before that oil was even done draining, I had an estimate up front. That's how I did it. I was quick, I was thorough, I was efficient. And because I was doing it on all makes and models, I got very, very good. So when the time came for me to leave for the dealership, I just blew everybody out of the water. It doesn't normally work like that. Normally, when you get a guy who comes from the dealership from private garage, they're slow, they don't know how to move, their mind is just wrapped around the hours and the warranty aspect. My mind was wrapped around the servicing, getting things done, getting it out, getting things done quickly. And this is kind of weird. I started in September of 2019 in a dealership, and you know what happened? 4 or 5 months later, COVID hit. And this is messed up because of my production mentality and what I was able to do. They didn't lay me off. They laid off people who were there for years, which I think goes to show. Being in the private garage, preparing myself for flat rate, I set myself up for a good future. So one of the things I also noticed when I got to the dealership is, it may just have been the dealership I was at. It was a Honda. Everybody was afraid to call Struts because they were so expensive. I get into friggin' CRV, Civics, you name it. Bang, 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 bang. I'm like, what's going on here? So everybody was afraid to call Struts because of the price. Me, being in a private garage, I didn't care. It is not my responsibility to determine what the customer needs, what the customer was willing to spend. I put out what they needed. That's my responsibility. It came in for a service. I'm telling them what they need. That's their choice if they choose to repair it. You got to get that out of your head. Put everything on the table, and it's up to the customer. So what happened is everybody at the dealership was very toxic towards me. They called me the Strut King. Whatever. I was happy about it because they were unable to diagnose struts properly. My private garage background let me do that. And the reason they were having trouble is they thought leaking struts, like if you could visually see a leak, that was a failed strut. Well, it doesn't work that way in the real world. So I was calling it struts and I could prove it every time. And, Strut King, whatever, that was extra work for me. after a year and a half of doing that, everybody in the shop was calling struts. And so other things I was calling was rear suspension components. Again, they were so weird with this. I didn't get it. Honda Odysseys, Ridgelines, rear trailing arms ripping out. They were big jobs. They upwards of 4 or 5 hours to pull them out because the friggin' parking brake cable ran through it. And those guys were afraid to call it. I'd go under there. Listen, the trailing arm bushings are ripping out. This is a part of their alignment. Like, this is why the tires are wearing. Just call it. It's not hard. Oh, no, it's too expensive. Listen, man, that is not our decision. That's up to the customer. Lay it out for them. And a lot of the time, the customer would say no, but they'd come back a few months later, and I'd have that work in there. That's the way it goes. If you call something, it's going to come back to you. And a lot of technicians are afraid of that. So after a while, I built up this huge buffer of work I called, and some days they would just overbook me and it would all come in at once. But I was never hurting for hours because I would take in jobs that no one else would do. I would call things that made sense. I can explain to the customer. And another thing is, I'd still do all these checks, even on a friggin' thing that came in for an engine light. For me, a lot of the quick services that people wanted in and out, I would do the full Monty on it. That is how I made my hours. It's the quick ones you never see that they're, oh, no, I don't want anything. I would always double check it. And these customers who wanted in and out, eventually, once you got the estimate to them, bam, they wouldn't do it to that day. And as I said, they will come back later. It eats away at them. They know that now their vehicle in their mind isn't perfect, and you explain to them why it isn't perfect. And I think if more technicians get in this mentality that it's not our car, it's not our responsibility, just show them what it needs. Don't overthink it. 90% of the stuff we stress about doesn't come true. Like I said, the dealership I was at was very toxic towards what I was doing. I'd walk up to CRVs and see the rear suspension cambered in like this. You know what? I knew the OE parts wouldn't bring that camber back, so I was calling aftermarket parts. I was calling extra for alignments. I live in the north. Cracking tie rod ends is a bastard. Oh my goodness. I wasn't afraid to upsell another half hour. Like, listen, your alignment, like, it's not my fault you haven't done an alignment in 10 years. I'm not paying on my back for your time the extra time to friggin' pull out torches. When you have one alignment rack, you got 6 guys breathing down your neck because you're taking too long. No. Customer's going to pay, unfortunately. And another thing you shouldn't be afraid of is kicking that car out. I was bad for this. Service advisors may have loved or hated me, but if I wasn't having 2 to 3 cars on my hoist in an hour, I was kicking it out. So once I got that estimate in, the tires were going back on, I was moving on to the next car, hitting locate. I'm not sure what other dealerships do, but locate, move on to the next job. If it's a big job, here's my mentality. If it's a big job, you're going to be waiting for parts, they're going to rebook that damn thing. And if there's a desperate situation, they'll make it work. But you know what? Big jobs need to be rebooked. And people need to understand, you may not get it that day. And my mentality was, get it in, get it up, get it down, get it out. So I don't know if your dealership has tool talks in the morning, but some dealerships show your right cells at the end of the day, or whatever you want to call it. I can't believe I found one in my toolbox, but this was generally the normal. I blurred out all the names for safety here, but I'm the one in the green. There's days there I sold 20 hours of right cell. They always showed the customer pay at the back here. That was normal for me. Most of my work was CP because I was so good at it. But you know, at the same time, I was still doing a lot of warranty work. But when you set yourself up, you're doing all these checks, you kind of stray away from the warranty work and you're not as stressed, I find. People may have said, hey, he's getting nothing but gravy, but that's not the truth. Because I took my time, I put the effort in, I got these customer paying jobs. I got all these gravy items they considered. And it's because I did the work. And you have to go against the grain where you are. You have to put yourself out there. You got to put the time and effort after hours. That's the only way you get ahead in this industry. And don't get me wrong, not every dealership, not every situation is the same. But that's what I did. That's what I knew where I wanted to be. I knew what I wanted to do. And I knew the lifestyle I wanted. And this is what I needed to do to get to that lifestyle. My first private garage, my boss said to me once is, find the job that suits your lifestyle. I left not long after that. I went to the dealership because that's the lifestyle I wanted. I wanted these hours. I wanted this money. And you know what? I liked it at first, but after a while, I burned out. Hands down. It made me hate the industry. And as you can see in my videos here, I really loathe automotive. I loathe the flat rate system. And you know what? If they just paid mechanics more hourly, I might have still worked that hard. But it's not the way the industry is. flat rate, unfortunately, is here to stay for a long time. There's nothing we can do about it. So if you're in the automotive industry or you're an apprentice looking to get into flat rate, go to the dealership life, I hope you watch this video, leave a comment. The reason this came about is I went to my old shop and I watched one of the young apprentices pull in a Ram 1500. And the funny thing is, I put tires on this Ram in 2016, like winter tires, and I seen the truck pull in. I'm like, okay, he didn't road test it. That's weird. It's in for tire swaps, in for service, like oil change. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. That's not the way we did things here when I left. He pulls it in. Like, you can't do much on a road test. He's in for a tire swap. I look at the tires. I'm like, come on, these are winners. They're at like 530 seconds or less. And he's like, whatever. I'm like, dude, they were made in 2016. Come on, we're 2024. This is an easy sale. Like, I know the guy. No, not interested. I'm looking at the brakes. I'm like, maybe he could upsell his service. I could tell they've never been serviced before, but no motivation. I talked to the other guys. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you don't know what it's like been since COVID. They were all beat down. I'm like, listen, man, you just have to try. They're like, I don't want to make the boss any more money. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I get it. But at the same time, if you cave in, like, the shop's not going to have money to pay bills. Why do they need you there? Like, it's 50-50. Work with them, man. Like, whew. That was a real eye-opener here the last few days, and it made me think how I made myself into a flat rate technician and made my life better. But you know what? As much as I hate making money for an owner, you still got to give some too there. It's give and take. Like, if you make your situation make it hard for you, you're going to make it hard for them, and they're going to make it harder for you. It's a vicious cycle. So whatever you take from this video, leave comments what you think. It's kind of a rant, kind of long-winded, but that's just what I did. So, Lance Mechanics, have a good one.